Okay. 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 So thank you for coming, and for anybody who's watching on live stream, this is our open house for the school program. As you know, we've had a school program running these last 6 months or 7 months, starting in August. It is a program for sixth grade through eighth grade. We're running that this year. With God's grace, we're going to continue to run that next year. The question that's coming up now is we need to begin to think about how this school is going to grow. Is it going to grow into the elementary years, or is it going to grow into high school, or both, and so on? So for you, this is an opportunity for you. If you're here today, this is a good opportunity to ask questions so you can learn more about how the school is going to grow to help you make decisions. If you're not here and you're just watching from the live stream, try to get as much information as you can from the presentation, and then you can email me or Mr. Boykin, the headmaster. He's here with us today. I'll introduce him in a minute. Okay. So welcome to St. Mary's Christian Academy's open house. You of course know me because you have to see me every day. This is Mr. Boykin. Our parents already have met him, and those who haven't met him before, Mr. Boykin is really the leader of this program, along with Bishop Peter and Abu Misael and my weakness, of course. Mr. Boykin is the one who designed the school program. You okay? He designed the school program. He's the expert behind it. He's a licensed principal and superintendent. He carries a superintendent license. He's wrapping up, or he's working on his dissertation, I think. It's a lot of work. To hold your breath. And he has a degree as well from UNC Chapel Hill, as well as a few other degrees that I can't remember at the moment. But we've already met him several times. Mr. Boykin is going to come and talk to us. He's the headmaster. He'll talk to us about all the technical information. Okay, I'm just going to give you the vision for the school. And then Mr. Boykin's going to come and hopefully answer just like we did last summer in all our meetings. Mr. Boykin was there every meeting, and he answered as many questions as there were about what does the school day look like, what does the curriculum look like, what is our policy on this issue, what is our policy on that, what about high school, what about college, preparation for college, AP exams, SATs, all that stuff, scholarships. He knows all of that material. First, I want to share our vision again, okay? And you can find a lot of this material. I'm going to give it to you right from our website, okay? You've all seen the website many times. I think on live stream, the IT said they can't switch to the slideshow, so you're going to have to just look it up on your own. It's St. Mary Youth, STMARY youth.org, STMARY youth.org. Once you type that in, you're going to see that this is the website that we use for our school and our preschool program. You're going to see 5 different menus in the top, or menu of 5 different items. If you go to program and admission, those two menus, those two items, those are the things that are going to give you all the details about what we do, as much as we can. So if I go to program, for example, you're going to see curriculum overview, you're going to see our community, and you're going to see the school calendar, but that's for this year. If I go to About Us, you're going to see the vision and the mission of the school. I want to share that with you. It's a very simple vision. It's actually over here too. What is St. Mary's Christian Academy? Very simple. St. Mary's Christian Academy is a private. We're not part of the public programs, private, non-profit Christian school located in Raleigh, North Carolina, and operating under the diocese, okay, the Coptic Orthodox Diocese. We are a private, non-profit. Private means that we run the program as best as we see fit, as best as we can, as we see fit. There's standards that Mr. Wicking can talk to you about. It's the same detail over here. There are standards that Mr. Boykin will talk to you about by the state that we have to at least achieve in order for the state to be comfortable and say, okay, you're a real school and we'll accept your kids can actually make it to college and so on. And I'm simplifying it, but that's what it comes down to. Where private means that we can determine our own curriculum, we can determine our own pace, we make a lot of our own decisions. We are a nonprofit school, meaning that we generate no profit. There is no money that comes into the school that we use for anything other than the school. The money that goes into the school pays for the school and pays for the teachers and pays for the supplies, That's it. Nonprofit means it doesn't generate any money. Okay? Um, in fact, it counts on your donations too to the church. Nonprofit also means that, as a nonprofit, we are funding ourselves, but we do also get to receive funds through the state. And you're going to learn more about scholarships. Just because we receive funds through the state, that does not mean that the state regulates what we do closely. The state is just returning tax dollars, your tax money that you paid to the state so that they can teach your kids in public school. If your kids from public school leave, Mr. Boykin will explain all this, then those tax dollars should leave and go with you to wherever you want to go. And so some of our kids from the school get to benefit from those scholarship funds, and they can go cost-free without paying any tuition, or they can go with less tuition. It's a beautiful, beautiful opportunity, and the state just even, I think, last summer, it increased the limits, something like that, to allow even more parents to benefit from it. It's a big blessing. But just because we're receiving funding from the state, that does not mean we're required to follow state curriculum. We're not required to follow state policies or procedures. The state gives us objectives. And it says, and their biggest objective, I think, academic, is make sure that you can pass or that you administer a national test at the end of the year for certain grades. Because the state wants to make sure that we're not just messing around. But Mr. Boykin will tell you, and the teachers have tonight off, so I'm here on behalf of the teachers. I can tell you that actually, even kids who have several kids, at least 3 times, have come after the year began, since October, November, and have tried to enter the school. And we gave them an interview, and we gave them a test to show them the material that our kids are working on here. If they can pass that test, then they can join us if they passed all the other parts of the application. And in those 3 instances, the kids were not able to pass our test, which means that we're doing, with God's grace and the work of all the teachers, we're actually going way above and beyond what the public schools are doing. We're moving at a faster rate. We're learning deeper information. We're learning more information, and we're learning it faster because of the way the program is set up. Thank God. That's all to God's glory. And some of those kids are coming from other private schools, and some of those kids were coming from public schools. And thank God we were able to continue to propel forward. So our mission is very straightforward. We're trying to offer a superior education, not just an education like something that we're seeing out in public schools. There are great public schools, and there are other great public schools that are not great. And last summer, we talked a lot about what we're seeing in public schools. And it happened last summer when we were presenting the school idea of the school to the parents. At the same time, there was about 3 or 4 newspaper articles, Mr. Wigan, if you remember them, 3 or 4 newspaper articles about really disastrous things that were happening in public school at that time, the same summer that we were trying to start up. And we use those as an example to show you really there's a lot more going on in public school than parents realize. And there's a lot less teaching and education in public schools that parents realize. Not every public school, but many public schools. North Carolina used to be one of the top public school states in the country. I think as of 10 years ago, I think right after the recession, the taxes were cut for businesses, funding was cut to schools, and North Carolina dropped from the top, I think it was somewhere in the top 10, to number 40 out of 50 states. That's pretty low, pretty deep low. And there's no reason for that. It's not because the kids in this state are challenged, and academically, it's not because the kids or the parents, it's because it's the money. When the state stops putting money towards their schools and towards their teachers and towards the curriculum, then the schools suffer, and then the kids suffer. And then our community suffers, because the kids are supposed to be the ones leading the community in the future. And if they're not educated, there's not going to be a strong community. That's what we saw happen recently in North Carolina last decade, and that's why we are really encouraging. And Mr. Boykin was a principal and is still in the public school sector, and he's here trying to move us all to believe and to build this vision of the private school, because even from the public school sector, it's nothing against the public school other than this is the way the system is now. The system in the public schools now, and many of the public schools that our kids go to, is that our kids are not receiving the best education that they possibly can. They're not receiving it academically, they're not receiving it athletically, they're not receiving attention and mentorship from their teachers. We have stories, even our kids can tell us stories about what they saw in public schools. So we're trying to bring not just an alternative, but a superior alternative, something bigger and even better than what our kids have been exposed to. But this education has to be consistent with Orthodox Christianity, consistent with Orthodox Christian values. What does that mean? We're not just teaching math and science and English and social studies and French and Latin and all of those topics. We are teaching all of that, but we're teaching them in a manner that is Orthodox Christian, and we're also teaching Orthodox Christianity. Every day, our kids, and we have one of our kids here, a lot of our kids are here, but one of our kids came today and prepared a statement, and he's here going to share some of his experiences. Our oldest kid, that's you, don't look back, that's you. He's here today, and he's going to show you how every day, their day starts with morning prayers here in chapel, in the church. We call this chapel class. Here in chapel, and then they go down and they spend, I think it's 45 minutes in a Bible and theology class with one of their teachers every day. Every Wednesday, with God's grace, they come here and they must serve in the liturgy. They must participate in the service and serve, and of course, take communion. And they're required to participate in confession so that they can take communion. It's all tied together, and I supervise that part. That's my job. When I see that some of our kids are not taking communion, or one of our kids is not attentive in the service, or is not feeling well, or is not really engaging, then that's a big sign for me to then pull that child on the side during liturgy or after liturgy and speak to them and figure out what's going on and follow up with confession or follow up with spiritual guidance or encouragement. That's how we make this an Orthodox Christian school. It's not just a superior school, but it's academically, but it's an Orthodox Christian school. It's a school that it's designed to instill and build our kids on Christian values from beginning to end. It's also an athletic school. You're going to hear from Coach Ellis. He's he has a complicated title, so I'm going to let Mr. Boykin introduce him. And Coach Ellis, we're really, really grateful to have him. Coach Woods, you've already met him. He's also a big blessing to us. But they're committed, Mr. Boykin, as the headmaster of the school, is committed to making our students prepared athletically to compete with the world around them, to compete with the students around them. Not for the sake of competing, but so that our kids have the best opportunities that they can get. What I've noticed here in Raleigh is that our kids, because their academic school education is not very strong, they have a deficit, they have a lack. They're weak on that point in a lot of aspects. But what I've seen is that because of that, they've invested a lot of time and energy into their athletics. I've seen them play, and they play soccer every Tuesday and Thursday night for hours and hours at night when we open the court. They play basketball throughout the week. They play volleyball. They play ping pong. Every single one of our at least middle school, high school kids can probably, and I used to be really good at basketball, and I used to play football, and I used to play soccer, and I used to play ping pong, and they can probably all beat me at this point. They're all very gifted, and I think that's a gift from God that, yes, you might not be receiving what you are entitled to receive from the schools, but instead, we have this beautiful facility, we have this beautiful opportunity, the coach, the trainers, and Coach Ellis, who's going to talk to you soon about our programs, to enable our kids with the talents that they have to still grow in opportunities. Not just academically, not just spiritually, but also athletically, to be good athletes. This is something that I'm not going to take any credit for. And Mr. Boykin worked very hard to put this together, but even if Mr. Boykin, if you permit me to say, Mr. Boykin can't take credit for this either. This is God's work. This is God's work that we have such a comprehensive program, working from all three sides, and really we've seen it already in the first 6 to 7 months. Already our kids are excelling. Already. They're really showing enormous strides and a lot of growth in all those spheres. Our kids confess, actually, he just had his confession yesterday. Our kids confess once a month. They must, required. Our kids attend liturgies and take communion, unless there's a special reason preventing them, every Wednesday morning. Our kids can run the entire liturgy, starting from Abl Bekir, before Matins. They come in and they pray the first hour. Then they pray morning doxology, and then they pray Matins, and then they pray liturgy, and then they set up the altar for me, and then they reorganize the altar at the end. They do. They receive that training, yes. The question is, they receive training to do all of these things? Yes, they are. And right now, they're at a point where, within, I think it's 6 months now, they can pray the whole liturgy program, the whole liturgy service without any other adult. And with me giving them very little feedback. They know. They've learned it, and they know it, and they surprise me. And I'm really grateful to see how much that they grow and how much they've learned. Yeah. I should give you a mark. Sorry, Gloria, 1 minute. I'll get you on your phone.
The floor is yours, madam.
I was just going to ask if when the elementary school starts, when will they start learning and having their training as the deacons and being able to participate in everything?
Sure. Very good question. Okay. With God's grace, if we are going to begin in elementary school, and you're going to hear more about the different scenarios that we have to grow. When we grow into the elementary program, they start immediately. As soon as they're enrolled into the program, they discover, as they should, as the church has taught us for 2,000 years, that every child and every adult has some role to play in the service. Right now, because we're a smaller group of just middle school students, they all read very well. They all learn very quickly. They all can, move the censer, the sharia, and reach over the altar. So they're big kids. So they can, and the girls are always standing in the front, and they're leading. Actually, the boys aren't even singing the hymns. It's the girls that are the ones singing the hymns, while the boys are busy inside the altar with me and here keeping things organized. They learn immediately, as soon as they're in the program, that they have a place and what that place is, what that role is. Now, a kindergartner is not going to have the same role as an 8th grader. Okay, one of our oldest students, he can, Ibrahim, if I can introduce you, and I'll introduce him at the end again. He is responsible, and he knows this, every Wednesday to delegate to the rest of the boys who's going to handle which responsibility that week. So he'll say, okay, you're going to serve in the altar and do this response. You're going to do this, and you're going to do this one. You're going to do this, and then he follows up with them. They also help each other out, the boys, but that's his job. Now, the boys now all know what their job is, and we go over this with the kids. Just do your job. Let everyone else do their job so that everyone can have a job to do. Just do your job. And then the girls also have a role, very important role, and they're actually outside. They're taking care of the younger kids right now who are here. But the girls also have a role, and they're usually leading, and then they also assist with the younger kids from preschool, actually, right?
Yep.
They're the preschool director. And they're very helpful with that as well.
Yes.
And they help with the organization, the general organization of the church. What I expect to see with kindergarten, first grade, is that we're going to build in them an understanding of the church as the house of God. First, how do we do that? By pointing out things to them that resemble heaven, that resemble God's house, and then teaching them the basics. Our job at the school is not to teach them hymns rights. We're not going to be teaching hymns. That's St. Gregory's school, and that's starting, as you know, today. So we did it last semester as well. So that's not the job of the school. That's not the function of the teacher. The function is to give them an understanding of the church rights, generally, but not to teach hymns. That's hymns class. That's the diaconate school. But they need to understand that there's a hymn for this. How do I flip the book open? How do I determine which reading we're going to read today? What are the readings? What are the significance of this reading today? Why does Abuna stand and say this? Why does Abuna move and do this? Why does this deacon need to do this? All of that. We could start with kindergarten, and we did in other programs. And we move up. And the more they grow, the more they learn. And the more they learn, the more they get to be experts and participate in different parts. But it starts immediately. As soon as they're enrolled in the program, whether they're in kindergarten or in 10th grade, they know they have a place in the liturgy, and they need to do that job. And I'm very strict, I think, during the liturgy, right?
Yes.
With what gets done and what doesn't get done. And it's a teaching program. It's not live stream, it's not recorded, and no parents are allowed. Nobody else other than the faculty and the students are here to attend the service with myself, and it's here on Wednesday mornings, and I supervise it myself. And we can do a lot of teaching that way without the kids having to feel like somebody's watching, or they're going to get embarrassed if they make a mistake or they know how to read. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Thank you for that question. Okay, the mission is, we've talked about it already, to nurture the person entirely, mentally, physically, and spiritually. To build in them an environment of collaboration. Just because we play against each other, and you guys compete a lot in school, just because we compete, I wish you could get your friends too. Why don't we get the friends and come sit here if they can tolerate it? Because they're going to say it's their weekend and they're supposed to be off. It's okay. Just because we compete with each other, that doesn't mean we're each other's enemies. Competition is really important. It's really healthy. I really do believe in it because it provokes you to push yourself to further limits, to try harder, to watch others excel and say, you know what? How did he do that? Or how did she do that? And I go ask him, how are you so good at this or that? And when I learn from him, it's because he or she spent 10 hours last week working on this skill, then I can do that too. And then I can help others do the same. It's collaborative because we're each trying to drive ourselves up, but we're all trying to move progress. We're all trying to make progress. We're all moving together. That's collaboration. Service means that they all know they have to put a hand back into the service. The church is not going to grow. Their school is not going to grow without their hand in it. Many times, and the students will tell you when they come, I make them do work downstairs, the community service assignments. They'll sort through the cafeteria, they'll clean the dining hall, they'll organize the rooms, the classrooms, they'll move furniture for the teachers. This is after school. They'll help with cleaning, they'll help with small tasks with the parents' permission, and the parents have to sign a community service thing. So you'll see all about that later. Also, the one last thing in our mission that's really valuable is that we provide individualized training and mentorship. That's really important. Hi, sorry, thank you for coming. Okay, I was just talking about community service. Do we make you do community service in school? Yeah, but it's good, right? Because it's your school, it's your church, it's God's house, right? We provide individualized training. That means and mentorship. That means that our kids. This is a big problem, I think, in our public system. And it's a problem that we're missing in our Sunday school programs too. Not in Raleigh, but everywhere. It's that our education system needs to have a dimension or a component of discipleship, of mentorship. I need to have a role model to aspire to learn from, to aspire to become like. That doesn't mean I need to be a complete exact copy of Mr. Boykin or Abuna or Mr. Mikhail or Mrs. Hannah or Madame Zaki or whoever it is. But it means that I can see them and I see these men and women who have excelled, who have succeeded, and who are passionate about what they're doing, and I want to be like them. They sow a seed inside of me that makes me say, I can do this too, and I can do greater things than this too. And this is what it takes: integrity, respect, honesty, hard work. I see all these things in my teachers who invest a lot of time with me one-on-one, and they push me to be like them and even better. That's what we mean by mentorship. Because in public school systems, the class is so big, and the stress is so heavy on teachers, and the resources are so few, that's not really the relationship that's formed. It's much more of, you're just typically, and I used to teach at the public school systems here too. And I used to train the teachers when I was at Duke University. I used to be in the Master of Arts and Teaching program, and I used to work for the graduate director there in training our teachers that are going to go and teach in public schools in Durham. And we were trying to instill in them this idea that the kids are human beings. You have to form them. You have to cultivate in their mind a sense of belonging, a sense of identity, a sense of confidence, a sense of success and integrity and self-respect. If you don't do that, you just treat them as another name on a list, and you just give everybody grades for the sake of getting through the year, and you just pass whatever off to the administrator because you don't want to get in trouble. The kids are the ones that suffer. They have no idea why they're there. They have no idea what they're learning. They have no idea who you are as a teacher and what you're doing. And they don't, at the end, they come back and they say, well, who am I supposed to be like? I don't have a good role model. So let me just look at the celebrities on the TV. And there's nothing wrong with celebrities. I was just talking to the kids, and I was telling them, it's really something that we mourn, that Kobe Bryant was a great legend, absolute legend, and a great and devout Roman Catholic from the accounts that we've been told, and the beautiful story that he even took himself and his daughter to Mass that morning before the helicopter incident. It's very moving, and I tell our kids, how successful was he? And I think all our kids agree he was tremendously successful. And I say he wasn't, he didn't discover the cure for cancer. He didn't, fly to Mars or discover another species. He succeeded because he discovered that the key to success is hard work and believing in yourself. And he's a great role model for that. And he did it so consistently. He was a mentor to many people, and then he was coaching other kids as well. And that's what I think public schools are lacking, and that's what we're trying to do here. Trying to build mentorship, discipleship, to form each student into a Christian leader in their community. Okay? I've talked too much, but we're doing okay. I'm going to pass it on to Mr. Boykin, who is going to, I've covered these things, yeah, who is going to discuss a lot of items with us. Okay, so Mr. Boykin, please come up. Thank you. Take your time, actually. It's okay. I'm praying the service at 7, so we can go.
I won't, I won't be before you long. I just want to highlight a couple things. One thing we offer here at St. Mary's Christian Academy is the benefit of small class sizes and differentiated instruction. We have a very, very talented teaching force that can tailor the lessons to meet the diverse needs of your child. So if your child is not excelling in the area, or if they need accelerated learning with support, we're able to do that. We're able to tailor the curriculum because we are private, so we don't have to abide by any of the public school rules as far as curriculum goes. So that means if your child is advanced, they can be in the 6th grade but also receive a 7th grade curriculum if they need it, or they can be in the 7th grade and receive an 8th grade curriculum, and so on and so forth. We're able to do that. The beautiful thing I want to talk about is North Carolina is one of the few states in the country where we can offer what you call credit by demonstrated mastery. And this is, we can do it 6 through, we can do the acceleration kind of K through 8, but the credit by demonstrated mastery comes in is where high school students are able to complete a project and take a written test. And if they complete the project and complete the written test, they're able to get credit for that course. So they don't have to just sit for that course the whole time. They can get credit, and that allows them to accelerate through high school at a faster rate. I think a lot of parents are unaware of that, and a lot of school systems don't want kids, public school systems don't want kids to do it because they need those bodies in those seats for multiple years. Usually, a lot of people don't know that most kids, the way they design the curriculum is that most kids, by the time they end their junior year, if they would have taken the right amount of credits, have enough credits to graduate. Right, but they don't always take advantage of it because the way the counselor who scheduled their thing said, well, no, we're going to wait till next year to give you English 12, when they actually could have gave it to them the second semester of their junior year, and they could have potentially graduated a whole year early. So that's the benefit we have here. With the athletic program, we have a unique opportunity because we have, with the credit by demonstrated mastery, then we can apply also to be an NCAA approved school. NCAA approved school means that our curriculum will be approved by the NCAA, and that means any kid who attends here or plays a sport here, doesn't have to be basketball, it can be basketball, soccer, any sport that we have, then they will be eligible to go on to college and be able to play college athletics as well. The beautiful part about that is that when Coach Ellis gets back, he's going to tell you about his program and what he offers kids starting in elementary school, because a lot of people want to know, well, how do I get my kid an academic scholarship? How do I get my child an athletic scholarship? Well, it starts early. These kids that you see getting all this money for academic scholarships, they didn't just start their senior year and get $40,000 a year for the next four years. They started with people like Coach Ellis, who helped them and their family start applying when they was like in middle school and getting the application together. So that way, by the time they graduate from high school, they had what they need to be have a full ride to any university of their choice.
So working with scholarships, you're talking about scholarships to college.
College, yes. I'm not talking about scholarships to come here. I'm talking about beyond St. Mary's Christian Academy. We're talking about partnering with other people so that, can y'all hear me? Okay. Sorry about that. I'm talking about scholarships so they can go on to college and any university of their choice and have all the money that they need to cover their college tuition fees and so on and so forth. So Coach Ellis will talk about that in a few minutes. We have the unique opportunity to offer both honors and advanced placement classes. If you're going to offer AP classes, then you have to be certified by the College Board. That's a simple application just saying, hey, we're going to offer these AP classes. They have a specific curriculum, and now they could take the AP class and get the credit in high school, but if they want college credit, they have to pass the AP exam. So if they pass the AP exam, they get college credit, and that credit goes for them at any university in the state of North Carolina. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to go over the Opportunity Scholarship later, but we have qualified and been approved for the Opportunity Scholarship, the Disabilities Grant, and the Education Savings Act program here, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. We have a talented staff here. the majority of our staff come from the Coptic Orthodox community, which is a beautiful thing when they're working with our children here, because they know the standards that the church has set and what the expectation would be for a child coming to a private Christian education. We do have Coach Woods, who I brag on him all the time. He's going to offer trainings and intramural sports, which would be low-level competition. And then, depending on which direction we choose to go, whether middle school, high school, or elementary, intramurals is more for your elementary school kids, low-level competition. But middle school, we could have a middle school basketball team, high school basketball team, depending on which direction we decide to go. And the beautiful thing is that, he has deep connections. Right now, the reason he couldn't be here is because he's helping Wake Tech play the UNC Chapel Hill JV team. I didn't even know UNC Chapel Hill had a JV team, and come to find out they all do. So that's why he's not here. He's sought after all throughout the state, all throughout the country by both pro athletes and college athletes alike. So, having him here is a blessing, and just none of this happened by accident. This was all by God's design. What that means is that I literally met Bishop Peter by accident. Like, we lived in the same, I've been living where I'm living for 10 years. I've never met him till one day he stopped by my neighborhood. Well, not by my neighborhood, but stopped in my cul-de-sac and asked me a question about landscaping. And then from there, he told me, where your church? I said, y'all just built a beautiful building. Out there. I said, what are you doing in that building? He began to explain. I said, well, look, do you think, would you entertain putting a school there? And so I gave him my phone number. We never talked again for like 90 days. He came back in town because I didn't know he would travel so much. And then he said, hey, get in contact with Father Michael, and we will go from there. And the rest is history. The rest is just God's design, how he set it up. So the Opportunity Scholarship provides up to $4,200 a year for students who qualify. The income limit has gone up, which is great. So that means more families can qualify. It used to be, they used to have very, very income restrictions, but the limit has gone up. So if you look at the screen, I've provided, there's a website that you can go to, and it'll be on stmaryyouth.org as well, that you can go to learn about and how to fill out the application. The application just opened up on January 31st, and then the priority deadline is going to be March 1st. So even if you thinking about putting your child at St. Mary's Christian Academy, if it's just a thought, it cannot hurt to apply. Make sure you apply. Make sure you fill out all the applications and go from there. Most families do qualify. And if you know anything about St. Mary's Christian Academy, when Father Michael said it's totally nonprofit, if you notice, the amount they offer is what we accept as far as tuition. So our tuition is $4,200. They offer $4,200. How cool is that?
I have a question.
Yes.
Here.
So, thank you. So my question is, do your kids has to be at public school to qualify, or charter school can work as well?
Well, charter school is a public school. A lot of people don't know that. Charter school is a public school. So if they're in regular Durham public school, or if they were at Torchlight, or if they was at Kestrel, or any of the charter schools in the area, charter schools qualify as public schools. So if they're at any charter school and you want to come to St. Mary's Christian Academy, you can come and you can qualify for the Opportunity Scholarship.
I remember last year when I was filling up the application, it asks for a student ID if they are attend the public school. So is that I can't remember if this is something I have to add or not, but he does not have a student ID as a public school. So
most students do have a student ID in traditional public school. Charter schools are public school as well. Sometimes it may just be as simple as putting in their social security number. Because the student IDs in public schools, what they do is they just encrypt them and give them a new number based on that school. It's not based on the district, but every school, they just don't want everybody getting the kids' social security number.
So the better one is to add just the social security, or to get his number from last year and use it?
I would do the latter first. I would try to get the student ID number from the school if they'll give it to you. Now, I'm going to tell you, public schools hate to lose kids.
I know.
So, and I know some of my families here we're struggling trying to get them just to send the kids records, because they feel threatened sometimes. They feel like they have more competition, like, oh my goodness, we're going to lose. See, the more kids, the more, I believe that competition brings excellence. If the public school system has a monopoly on the system, then they don't have to get better. They don't have to do anything different than what they're doing. But then when you say, oh, St. Mary's Christian Academy is here and these other schools are popping up, then it's like, oh, well, eventually if enough families leave, then they're going to do a lot better. So that's why, some of my families have little bumps and bruises in the road when they're asking for requests for records and student IDs and that nature. But I would try that first.
I think I was one of them.
Yeah. I remember receiving emails and sending emails, and Father Michael was sending emails, and we were making phone calls, and we finally got some leeway in that, but it was a nightmare at first, so I totally understand.
It wasn't just you.
I know, right?
Months later.
Right. Well, the thing about it is, in order to qualify, they must have been at least in a public school, whether charter or regular public school, in order to qualify for the Opportunity Scholarship. Only because what happens is when you attended public school, you believe it or not, you didn't see it directly, but it happened indirectly. You got taxed some type of way, whether it was property tax or whatever. So what happens is when you come from public school, they have tax dollars that follow the child from public school to the private.
Sorry. My question is, we applied last year and we're still in the waiting list till now, till this moment. When we redo the application this year, we have to redo it, or just
Start new one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're going to have to start over. And I don't know, Father Michael, make sure I get her name just so we can follow up about that. Because I know that Father Michael and I had to get really, really stern with the Opportunity Scholarship people at one point just to kind of get, it was during the summer just trying to get everything to go through. They're people too, they're human, they make mistakes, but I hate to hear stories about people falling through the cracks. So there's no reason why you should have been on the waiting list that long.
I contacted them on September, and they said I am in waiting list, and I have to wait till tell me what I'm supposed to do.
So what? But I was gonna say this. So the person you probably talked to, we had to go beyond that person, and we actually got to the head person in charge, the person that's the supervisor, and they were really, really nice and very, very accommodating and very, very apologetic. So that's what I'm saying. We'll get your name and we'll contact the head person over the whole entire division and department and make moves like that.
Okay, even the child doesn't have the name of the church, because actually we didn't put it. Even the child doesn't have the name of the school inside the application, because once we applied and we didn't get approved or even denied, we didn't put the name of the church, the school. Is that a problem right now?
It is not a problem now. St. Mary's Christian Academy is totally awarded everything. Opportunity Scholarship, disabilities grant, and Education Savings Act grant. So we are in there. If you search for St. Mary's Christian Academy of Raleigh, it will come up.
Okay.
Let's see the individual questions about.
Yeah, we have a question and answer portion of this too as well.
But if you have a general question, ask us if it's a question.
I think there was one more question at the back.
We'll do one-on-one.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, does the public school, does it have to be the previous year, or could it be before? Like she was in public school and then went into private school?
No, I think I think it had to be. Well, no. I want to take that wrong. Take that back. If they were in public school and tried to come here, that will qualify. Or if they went to a private school on the Opportunity Scholarship, that Opportunity Scholarship could transfer here. But if they was at private school and trying to come here, I'm not quite sure if they're going to qualify.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it would transfer. We have a question and answer session, if you don't mind, and then we'll go from there. We do have. So if your child is part of the Exceptional Children's Program, Disabilities Act grant, they offer up to $8,000 a year, and they have the same application time, January 31st, and a priority deadline by March the 15th. If you have the Education Savings Act, Then you have the same thing. January 31st, it opens up. March the 15th. But now I want to introduce someone to you who is a very, very humble guy. Coach Ellis played in the NFL. He doesn't talk about it that much. He is loved by all of his NFL buddies and coaches, both college and professional, both in North Carolina and around the world. The opportunity we're offering you, your child here today at St. Mary's Christian Academy is an opportunity to kind of connect with Coach Ellis, because he's going to tell you about a unique opportunity he can offer families from both, if I'm not mistaken, Coach Ellis, is it from elementary through high or middle through high? Elementary all the way through high school. So I'm not going to steal his thunder, but without further ado, Coach Albert Ellis.
Good evening. And I know you are tired. Been here a long time. And I am very brief. Thank you. It doesn't pay to be 6'5". I'm sorry. But I will be brief. And if you do have questions, I will try to field them as quick as I can.
You tell me I don't like football.
You don't like football? Well, like my friend Mr. Boykin said, we taught together a couple years ago. I was technically his muscle at the other school. So a kid go do something, I go put him out of class, or I try to have a conference with him, pull him aside and say, this is what's going on. I taught for 25 years. I've taught history, math, science, physical education at schools up in Pennsylvania, taught at Jordan High School, taught together with him at Kessler High School and also at Millbrook High School. I'm an ex-NFL football player, like you said, but I was a track star. So I was extremely fast. I had scholarships to every Division I school in the country: Stanford, Nebraska, Texas A&M, every school from the University of Maine to Florida. I went to University of Pittsburgh. While at Pittsburgh, I was a 6-time All-American. I was a 2-time All-American in high school. Ran for 3 USA teams, got 1 gold, 2 bronze internationally. World University games against 203 kids. I beat every college kid that's from all over the world, got a gold medal. Pan Am Games, I got 3rd. And at the World University Games, I got 3rd by the length of this podium. We were all leaning at the line. So I did pretty good, and I ran professionally with Roger Kingdom and Jack Pierce, Olympians and world champions in the high hurdles. We were Bad Boys International, that's what we called ourselves. So we traveled all over the country and ran as well. After that, some agents were snooping around. They saw me run at the Pan Am Games. If you know anything about track and field, if you have a bad start, you have lost. You're not going to get a medal. So technically, where the pew is, I was there. Where they were there, I was back here. So next thing I know, I ran everybody down and I got 3rd. Some agents saw me do that in 1991 in Havana, Cuba. Next thing I know, they found me in 1994 and talked me into trying out for football. So I started training, used to train 4 hours a day. Next thing I know, I made it. So I ran 4.38 on Coach Carroll's watch, and next thing you know, I played with Pittsburgh, New England. I'm an original Panther from the first team and the Jets. So I'm hopefully a lot older than I look. I hope I don't look too old, but yes. But a good friend of mine, while I was doing all that running all over other parts of the country and world, his name is Mark Everett. Mark Everett's 3-time Olympian, 3-time world champion, 3-time world record holder. He is the team leader and owner of Primetime Scouting. And usually we were friends on Facebook, and we were having a conversation many moons ago in my hometown of Durham, North Carolina. I'm from here. I still live here in Raleigh. But I was running the national championship, and he and I were at my godmother's sister's house having a conversation, talking about a good 90 minutes. Then we didn't talk again because he went to go run, I went to go run, but we stayed in contact through Facebook. And I'm looking on Facebook, and he's doing one of his video blogs. He's talking about, well, if you're interested in your student, a student athlete getting recruited, and if you're interested in scouting, inbox me. So I go, I've been trying to be a scout for years. I have other friends, my good buddy Mitch Moser of Duke University, he's the CFO that handles all the finances there. Was trying to get me in with scouting there, couldn't get in. Tried NC State, North Dakota State, my other buddies all over the country, just couldn't get hired. And I figured out to be in one of the biggest scouting companies in the world, they still didn't hire me. So I get on the phone with Mark, and he tells me what I'm about to tell you now. And I say, that's the most awesome thing I've ever heard in my life. How do I become a part? He said, you're hired. I said, excuse me? He said, you're hired. I'm going to teach you how we scout in primetime scouting for students, student athletes, and parents. So many moons ago, Mark was a coach in Alabama, and that's where the company is. I happen to be here, but we have scouts pretty much all over the country. But Mark lives in Alabama, and he took a Division III coaching job in Alabama. And at Division III colleges, all you need is a 3.0, fair ACT, SAT. They will let you play any sport you want to play, okay? So Mark happens to be track star, so he's coaching track, of course. Well, he's looking at all the teams, and pretty much the teams were really, really small. 5 kids, 7 kids, 10 kids. For a real track and field team, technically Division I went to University of Pittsburgh. We had 40 kids on the team with 16 full scholarship athletes, and everybody else is getting bits and pieces here and there. Mark went to the University of Florida, big-time SEC football school, so they have a lot of money. So it was 30 kids on his team, and all of them had full scholarships with Pell Grants and other money in their pocket. So he's talking to the other coaches. He's like, I don't understand. Why are your team so small? And they tell him, Coach, we don't have a recruiting budget. We can't find the kids. We have plenty of money. The school has a lot of money just sitting there waiting to give away, but we send robocalls and emails and flyers, but we can't find them. So Mark came up with primetime scouting for all those kids who fall through the cracks, who do not get looked at. Are there any basketball fans in here? Yes, no, maybe no. Does anybody know who Zion Williamson is? Good job in the back, thank you. So Zion Williamson, of course, went to Duke, but he's from South Carolina. And his highlight film in high school is incredible. Like sometimes I'll pull it up every now and then and look at it. But there are 2 little kids that play with him. They're the ones throwing him all the alley-oops and stealing the ball and making him look good, but you can't tell me who they are. That young man in the back can't tell me who those other 2 kids are. I don't even know the names, neither does Mr. Boykin. But they have 4.0s, great ACT, SAT scores and want to play, but no one's looking at them. So we specialize into backup to the backup of the backup. Technically, a kid can almost not play at all, and we get them a scholarship, pretty much. So if they come off the bench or if they play a little bit, we can get the kid a scholarship in school. The other thing we did that no other company does in the world, we're the cheapest, and we're the only one with the money-back guarantee. That if we do not find a student or a student athlete a scholarship, we give the parents all their money back, no questions asked. Nobody else does that. There are a bunch of other companies out there that try to do what we do. One in particular, they say we're going to send 1,000 emails out to all these coaches. The problem is coaches don't read emails at all. They're very lazy, just being honest. But the same way I'm talking to you, my athletic director has already talked to 30 schools today by himself, and so do the rest of the scouts. And it's not just one person working for you. I, myself, and other people whose names I cannot say because I will get in trouble with my athletic director, but let's just say any famous Olympian or any pro athlete that you can imagine, they work behind the scenes with primetime scouting. We even have an international division. Last year for her particular college, and she's an Olympian, she made $300,000 for that school and bringing international kids from over there to over here to get scholarships or to actually pay to go to school. The other thing we do, by the time a kid is a sophomore, junior in school, once we get the kids in school, we get them an internship inside of their major. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I had hair a long time ago, and I was sitting there with my interview, and I'm talking to the gentleman, he said, well, sir, you speak well. I said, thank you. He said, and you looked the part. I said, thank you again. You answered all my questions. Your resume looks fair. I said, good, thank you. He said, I have one more question for you. What's your job experience? Oh, God, I did the Scooby-Doo. I'm sorry, I don't have any experience, sir. I played pro football. I ran internationally, but that's all I did. He said, it was nice talking to you. Have a nice day. I did not get the job. But our students and student athletes, whether they stay at home with you for that break during the summer or whether they stay at school, we get them an internship inside their major. So now they have a track to a job or even better yet, a career hopefully for life. The other thing we do is we vet the school and vet the coach and make sure it's a right fit for that particular kid, in that particular school and your family. A lot of times kids don't do that and they go to the wrong school and they end up wanting to transfer to get depressed, the grades get bad or whatever. We just saw the national championship happen in football a couple weeks ago. But one of the semifinal games is a young man by the name of Jalen Hurst. He was the quarterback for Oklahoma. He was a Heisman Trophy winner, won a national championship. But the sad thing about Jalen, he started out at a different school. He was at Alabama. And while playing a national championship game about 4 years ago against Georgia, he was having a bad game, wasn't playing well, and the coach pulled him out. He put in his other kid in named Tua, left-handed kid who threw the football. He threw 2 passes, almost threw an interception. Next pass he threw was a touchdown, and the rest was history. Jalen never played again. So we transferred. So I say all that to say, if we have a kid and that happens to them, or if they go to school and they get injured, they get hurt, we're going to transfer them. I fell and hurt my back my freshman year of college. Had a bulged disc. They didn't find it until my junior year. My coaches thought that I was boycotting the team because they were treating some of my teammates bad, and I was not. And I didn't have prime time or anybody to advocate me to help me try to move from one school to another, so I had to stick it out, and also being very unhappy, but I made it through. If that happens to our students or our student athletes, then we're going to get them out of there. And one of the other things we do that's extremely powerful, we do academic scholarships as well. So let's just say, for instance, we negotiate an academic scholarship for you, okay? Let's just say it's at one of the local schools right here in North Carolina. Let's just say it's Campbell. The academic scholarship far outweighs or is more than the athletic scholarship. Say because you're smart, got good grades, and you're going to test well here, and you have a good ACT or SAT score. So we negotiated with Campbell. Campbell's a big private school, just like you guys are a private school. A lot of money. I vetted the school myself, put my own 2 feet there. They were recruiting my son for a basketball scholarship. Every blade of grass is new. It looked like someone has polished every brick, all the pavement, all the buildings inside and outside. Brand new everything. It's a $41,000 school a year. But we've negotiated a scholarship for her. Now she has 130%. So that means the $41,000 takes care of room, board, books, everything. But now we have 30% left. That's $16,000. That goes into her account day one when the semester starts. And if you're a student athlete, you got 5 years to do 4. So we do academic scholarships as well. And we also have a tutoring service called Greater Promise that he does everything remotely, just like you guys are looking worldwide right now. He can do the same thing. So wherever the student is, if they sign up with him, it is a paid service as well. But if they're taking the ACT or SAT and they do not get the score they desire for a particular school, he will let you take that portion of the program over again. And we also work together at Kestrel Heights together with him. He taught my son, excellent tutor. And pretty much, in a nutshell, that's about it. Unless you have any questions, I'll be glad to field them. Anything comes to mind. And if you don't, that's okay too. I do have some other literature and some things to take with you, and my business cards.
Thank you, Coach. So we have Mr. Wick and Coach. Yeah, sure. I was going to ask, are you available for a few minutes if somebody did have a question after? At the very end of the session.
I'm not that tall, so I gotta put it back down.
You can pull the that thing, squeeze that.
Okay. Can you cut this back on?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. There we go. Is it gonna come back up? All right, before we begin the question and answer session, I'll be available kind of offline. We can do that kind of out in the hallway. But what I want to say is this is what we need for everybody in this building. St. Mary's Christian Academy cannot exist without your support. We need you out in the Coptic Orthodox community, out in the community, just in the grocery store, anywhere, spreading the word that we are here, we are available, we are providing a great service at the cost-efficient price. There is no other private school in this area offering a tuition what we're offering. When Father Michael say we are truly nonprofit, we are truly nonprofit. There's nothing left over after tuition comes in. Everything goes to running the program. So, what we're trying to do is give the Coptic community the opportunity to get your children in first. Because I promise you, as Coach Ellis would tell you and some of the other people in here, Solomon, last name Solomon, Gibbs. The thing about it is that once the word gets out to the greater Raleigh community, there's going to be an influx of people beating down our door. And Father Michael and I will be giving tours and things of that nature and giving assessment tests and interviewing families. So we want to make sure that, we offer this to our community first, get our students in and get them acclimated so that they can be great role models to other students who are not that familiar with the Orthodox community. Does that make sense? So that's the best way to go. So we're trying to grow our program from within before we kind of expand out. Now, what I want to share with you is that the next step would be, if you're interested in St. Mary's Christian Academy, it would help if you it would help if you're interested in St. Mary's Christian. Yeah, go to the website. Just trying. Okay, so it would help if, number one thing you're probably going to have to do, if you're interested in St. Mary's Christian Academy, or you know someone who's interested in St. Mary's Christian Academy, two things we would like for you to do is try to pre-register. Early registration goes from February the 1st to February 23rd. And basically, when you go to the website, you click here to register, number one. Number two, you submit the registration fee. And number three, you apply for your different scholarships. Registration is easy. It's a seamless process. The registration fee is $100, but the beautiful thing about the registration fee is if you go ahead and register between February the 1st and February 23rd, we waive all the other fees. We waive the curriculum fee, which is like $250. We waive like the technology fee, which is several $100s. It's all on the website. So you're getting a huge discount by not having to pay these fees. You know, when we say truly nonprofit, once you register, pay the registration fee, apply for your scholarship, all you have to do is worry about getting your child to school. That's it. We take care of the rest from there. We will not ask you for one penny past the $4,200 that the state is going to give us. And like I said, if you don't believe me, check with some of our competitors out there, and you will see that right. Listen. He says he's paying double, and Father Michael and I have this conversation all the time. My daughter, listen to me. I was paying. It went down a couple dollars, but I was paying $14.35 a month for daycare. That's a lot. That's like, I mean, that's almost like Ravenscroft. Yeah, we do have daycare here. Right. Right. I work in Durham. My wife works in Raleigh. I promise you, I'm working on it. I can figure out something else to do with that money, you know. Oh, that's great. That's great. So save me a space, please. Yeah. So, so basically that's all you have to do. And people say, well, why a registration fee? Well, the thing about it is that you got to put some skin in the game. If you want to, and you have to put something in it saying that, hey, you know, I value what you're offering. It's not a lot to hurt you, but it's not little where it's just walk away money. So it's saying that $100 is saying, you commit to us, we commit to you. You're saving a space for my child, and we're going to be dedicated to each other for the next several years. That's really what it's all about.
Can I touch on that real quick? So there's a few things we have to say about that. Just like Mr. Boykin said, that's what the fee is about. There's an understanding that the school is trying to make money, or the church is trying to make money. There's not an understanding. There's an idea. It's funny because it's a completely nonprofit school. Money we receive, the school receives, we're not even allowed by law to touch it. It's kept in a special account. I follow it. I record it. I analyze it. I give it to the treasurer. We do a lot of work on it, and Mr. Boykin is reviewing it as well to make sure that every penny that comes in goes right back to the school program, and it has its own accounts. It has its own finances. What you're going to see, just to show you, what we're going to see is when you click on registration, if I click, it's going to mess around the screen, so I don't want to touch it. But if you click number 1, it's a simple form. What's your student's name? Your child's name, what's your name, email address, phone number, and which grades you would like your child to be enrolled in. And then you're going to agree saying, I understand there's a $100 registration fee. And then you're going to agree also saying, I understand that if for some reason my child is not, because registration is the very first step. After they register, when you go to admission on the menu, you're going to see there's multiple steps. If I do it, we're going to get, because the iPad is slow. But if you go to admission, you're going to see there's multiple steps, interview process, then there's an application process, there might be assessment, and then you're enrolled. If for some reason you're not invited to apply, the registration fee goes right back to you. It's never going to leave. We use PayPal for that reason, because after you're going to fill out the registration form, you're going to go to number 2, hit the yellow button, the PayPal button. It goes to PayPal. It gets stored with PayPal. It doesn't get touched. It doesn't get moved until your child is fully in the program. If for some reason the child is not enrolled in the program at the end, we hit refund. It goes right back to it, whether it's credit card or debit card or whatever it was. And then the third thing is your scholarship. This is for you. This is your responsibility. Mr. Boykin and I are here. Really, Mr. Boykin, he's here to answer all the questions. He's the one that got in touch with the supervisors. Like he said, there was a lot of issues on their end until he kept persisting. That's why Emmanuel had a hard time. We kept persisting until the day of our very last parent meeting. We got the supervisor on the phone. Mr. Boykin got him. We spoke to them sternly. The supervisor herself got back, apologized to us, said that we made several mistakes, but you can from now on reach out directly to me and I'll make sure everything gets done. And miraculously, we came to the meeting. We were going to say, sorry, the school's not done yet and it's not our fault, but she got it done at 6:30 at night. The supervisor stayed after hours because she felt bad and she got it down and ready for us. But it's your responsibility to take advantage of it. The money is there. It's in the state if you qualify, and the limit is higher. When you click scholarships, you can learn all about that. The teachers are here. The building is here. The athletic program is here. The curriculum is here. The administrator is here. Everything is here. You have to do your part. And that's what that $100 registration fee is. Because what happens a lot is and this is a cultural thing that we have in our Egyptian culture, we say a lot, but we don't do a lot. There's a lot of talking, but there's not a lot of action. And it doesn't work that way. I can't get anything done for your kids that way. You know, every time a parent comes to me and say, Abuna, please help me with my son, please help me with my daughter, this and this. Parents know me very well by now, hopefully. Maybe not, you'll know me soon. When I come back and I say right back to the parents, I'll sit with your child, but what are you doing at home? But what are you doing at school? But what are you doing with them at church? This is not to wash my hands and say the church will take care of my kids. You have to invest. You have to put in the time, the effort, and of course, whatever you financially can. I'm not going to say for a preschool, for summer academy, for the school tuition, I've said to everyone, if you have a problem for the tonyas, if you have a problem with the fees, please speak to me or speak to Abuna and we can accommodate. God will provide, we will work something out. I even said that to Abuna Gilos in Chapel Hill when he asked me that question a couple of weeks ago. I said, I don't know how we're going to provide for the family, but God will provide. Don't worry, that's not something we have to talk about. I'm not going to say this about this because there is no way for us to plan for August if we don't know who's committed. And there's no other way, because I know we are very careful with our money. There is no other way for me to know if we're committed, if we're not putting any of our money into it. So I'm not going to waive any registration fee. You're going to be required to pay that registration fee to show that you are committed, like Mr. Boykin said. If for some reason the application process doesn't complete, it goes refunds right back. We're not interested in it. We're not making a profit. This is non-profit. If it's complete, then it goes directly credited towards your child account for the school year. But it needs to be paid. I'm not going to waive that for anyone unless there's an extreme urgent case. But that's not going to happen. I don't foresee that happening to anyone. Please help us. Next year, we're trying to figure out. We have a lot of parents asking us about kindergarten. A lot of parents asking us about 5th grade. A lot of parents asking us about 12th grade. I told them 11th and 12th grade, Mr. Wick and I talked about this, it's too late to start. With 11th and 12th grade, it's too late to start with us. But we're willing to start, see where God wants to guide us, and we're going to start with whatever year that God shows us through your commitment. If we see a class of 5 students for kindergarten, we can, with God's grace, start kindergarten. If we see a class of 5 students for 1st grade, with God's grace, He will send, just like He's been sending, everything. Coach Ellis, Mr. Boykin, Coach Woods, the building, you, the parents, the students, the wonderful, wonderful students that we have, the teachers, He will provide. But commit. Show us that you are interested. The only way we can know is when we have your name and your number and your information, and we see that you believe in this enough. Here's the form, I clicked it by accident. And you will see that we see that you believe in it enough by spending that $100 registration fee. If the application again isn't completed, it goes right back and refunds to your account. Please, please, please do not abuse the system. Do not come to, I'm speaking to you because you're my family. And I'm speaking to you as family, okay? Please do not, Mr. Boykin's in it deep. He's family too. He's in it really deep. So that's why he knows what's going on. Do not abuse the system. Please help us decide and determine what God's will is for the program. We're prepared to open what grades you need us to open. My dream, Mr. Boykin's dream, and Abuna Misael's dream, and of course Sayyidina's dream, we believe we all share the same dream, and God's will is to cover all the grades at some point. Whether it's between us and Chapel Hill, or all of us in one place, or all of us in another place, but we want to provide a school program for all our kids, not just Raleigh, Chapel Hill, Durham, but South Carolina, Georgia, Atlanta, Boston, New York. That's been the vision for the Coptic Orthodox Church for many years. If you were praying liturgy today, you saw that today we were remembering the departure of Amba Krullos, the fourth. Amba Krullos IV was known as, this is in the 19th century, in the 1800s, he's known as the great reformer of the church. What made him the great reformer of the church? What is the very first thing that he did? They ordained him, he was a monk, priest, he served in Ethiopia, and then they ordained him general metropolitan, and then 1 year later they ordained him patriarch. And what was the one thing that he did that made his patriarchate, his papacy, his time as pope and patriarch so powerful? The number one thing he did was open up schools for boys and girls in the neighborhoods. If we don't get that part done, there's very little hope for anything else. I am telling you. It's been this case since the time of Habib Girgis. He said the same thing. Pope Kyrillos VI said the same thing. Pope Kyrillos VI was the big supporter of the Sunday school movement and schools, private schools, for Habib Girgis. Habib Girgis, for kids. Schools is where it all starts. If you want to see change in your kids, if you want to see change in the world around us, if you want to see our kids grow and develop, they're not going to be moving in the right direction. I hate to say it, but it's true. In the public school system, if this is the way it's going to be for the future. We're not doing our kids a great service in our public schools. To do that, and that's been the case for many, many years. To do that, we need to start to think about private schools for our kids where we can teach them in an Orthodox Christian setting. Join us, but join us بجد. مش بكلام. With action. Registered. I clicked the registration by accident. Here's the form. Very simple. Name, email address, parent information, and which grade would you like for your child. And then these are the two check boxes. I agree that I'm not registered until I paid the $100 fee. And then I agree, even if I paid the $100 fee, if my child's application is not completed because the school is not allowing, the class is already full, or if we're not going to open that grade, or for any of those reasons, the money returns right back to the parent. Do not abuse the system. Pay the registration fee and say, I'm going to pay another $100, but if I change my mind in a month, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to ask for the school to give the $100 back. That's not the point. The point is to make sure that if you believe in it, stay with it so we can plan. If you don't show us that you committed, then we can't plan. And the only people that are going to suffer are these kids. Those are the only people. And why are we pushing this so hard? Because we know it's true. The private school is the right way to go. You've heard it said, when I was in Chapel Hill, we said this many times with Abuna Angelos, we're saying it a lot here, Amba Peter's saying it everywhere he goes. We have to start about building these schools everywhere. And you guys, we as a family have a big blessing and a big head start, huge head start. And God, every step of the way, has provided us with funding, athletic support, academic support, administration support, the teachers, and wonderful, wonderful students.
Can I make a... Go ahead.
Is there a minimum, so let's say we sign up, first grade and third grade. Is there a minimum that has to be met for you guys to start that?
That's a great question. Very, very great question. The thing about it is, so the question was that if a family signs up for first and third grade, is there a minimum amount of kids that need to be in that grade level in order for it to function? I mean, we've run a school here this year through sacrifice. Everybody has made the sacrifice. Myself, all the teachers, the church, everybody has made a sacrifice. And the thing about it is that we do need a certain amount of kids, and we're trying to figure that out so that at least the salary of the teacher can be covered, if that makes sense. We want to be able to offer a competitive salary just like they do in the public school, so that, because here, the church doesn't have any employees. Everybody be contract. So the thing about that is that, that person still has to go out and pay for their own health insurance and pay for any type of 401k or retirement that they would want. So yes, we're going to need a certain amount of kids to kind of cover that basic salary we're trying to offer. So great question.
this is, okay, they're gonna start first grade and then third grade. So I just wanna make sure, because, you know, like, if I wanna go in and take my kids out of that type of school,
Right.
I wanna guarantee that they're gonna be, yeah.
What the key is going to be is trying to see how we can push the registration period between now and February 23rd. And then after that, you know, we're going to have several open houses. So we want to let you know in a timely manner. It won't be a situation where it's August and say, oh, well, sorry, we're not offering. We're trying to let people and families know as soon as possible. So that'll be a situation between Father Michael and I, just looking at the numbers and seeing how they look so we can get that information back to the families so that you can make the best decision for your child. Now, what I want to say to you at this point is that at the end of the day, we are trying our best to make sure that we're trying to figure out the direction to go as far as grade levels. But we got to have bodies. We got to have kids. So in order for us to have kids, people got to register. People got to commit. We could talk about all the what ifs in the world, but if no one commits, and this is the one thing I want to say because I know it's happening. I have been an elementary, middle, and high school principal in the public school system, charter school system, state government systems, things of that nature. And what I'm telling you is I know people who are high-level administrators of school systems who do not send their kids to the public school in which they work. They don't do it because they know what they're getting. They'll take that public school job, but they won't put their kids there. And what I'm telling you is, if you think I'm not telling you the truth, when me and Coach Ellis are out there in the lobby answering some of these Q&A questions from you that you have that are burning desire to ask us, I'm telling you, as soon as some of these families catch wind that St. Mary's Christian Academy is open, available, NCAA approved, taking the opportunity scholarship, at some point in time, I just don't want to see that some of the Coptic community kids miss out because of inaction. You didn't act. And because I promise you, when I start putting this on Facebook this week and I'm spending my own money, see, a lot of people don't know that. After I start putting these advertisements out there, it won't be an issue before long. We're going through the growing pains as an upstart, but at some point in time, we're going to be influx with kids that's trying to find a home and go to school, and whether it's K through 5th through 10th, 6th through 12, whatever it's going to be. And when that happens, you may say, oh man, I got to get in. But what if we've reached our capacity and then you're left out? You see what I'm saying? So it's better to act now and be proactive than to be reactive in the end and say, I want to be in. And we'll squeeze you. You know, you're the family, so we'll squeeze you in, but it's almost like it could have been different if you would have acted early. Does that make sense? So that's where we're at with. So I'm going to turn it back over to Father Michael. I know we have a student presentation, but Coach Ellis and myself, after the student presentation, you'll conclude, we'll be out in the lobby. Well, we'll be out in the front lobby by the door to answer any Q&A.
We're late. We started late because parents were late. So that's why I'm pushing it on your time. You push on our guests' time. Out of respect to our guests, I will push back on our time. So we have to respect. That's the way it's done. I have one of our most beloved students, Ibrahim Bichet. I asked him to come prepare a short statement. We have Carmina, Helen, David, and Fedi as well are here. Ibrahim is the oldest student, so he's going to speak on behalf of the students. He's been a very good role model. He's grown a lot. He's learned a lot. And now it's time for him to do his job and present to the school, present to the families how he's experienced the school and what benefits he saw in the school. So I'm going to ask Ibrahim a couple of questions. Ibrahim's an 8th grader. I asked him a couple of questions. I didn't prepare the questions with him. I told him an hour ago. I told him yesterday that he's going to do this for us today. And he said, no. I said, yes, you're the oldest. You're going to do it. That's the way things are. And then today, just about a couple of hours ago, I gave him 3 questions, and I said, sit in my office and work on answering these 3 questions because you're going to answer them. You're going to enlighten all of us. So I don't remember 3 questions, so you're going to have to fill us in. I think the first question was, Bram, what are some of the challenges, or some of the different ways that you've been challenged in this school?
I have faced a lot of challenges. Like, one of the challenges I faced is our learning is nonstop. Like, we don't take breaks. We have to, like, after one unit, we have to progress. We can't, like, stay and learn until you've mastered it. Like, I have to be able to do that unit in about a week or 2 because there's no time for me to like stay back and not learn what I still have to learn.
Do you end up mastering it within a week or two?
Yes.
Or does it end up needing to take 2 months or 1 month?
No.
Like, how is that different than public school?
I'm able to focus more. I'm able to, like, my thinking goes faster. Like I'm able to focus more in private schools.
Thank you. That's very good. What helps you focus more in private school?
Classrooms are more quieter. There's less people. I get more time with the teacher.
This is the first time I'm hearing this, so I'm curious. What else? Does it have anything to do with your phone?
No,
No, because there is no phone, right?
they confiscate my devices.
Yeah, every morning they have to pass in their phones. They never see their phones until over a lunch break, and then they submit their phones back in, and they don't see them again until the end of the day, right? So that's a huge thing. I think that's what's holding a lot of our kids in schools these days, the fact that they have this thing in their pocket that keeps them distracted or busy the whole day. Texting, FaceTime, YouTube, all sorts of things. Games, Fortnite, right? Fortnite? Okay. We don't play Fortnite at school, though. Okay. The next question was?
How has my education changed?
How has your view of education changed? Okay, thank you. Yes. How has your view of
It's
education
changed a lot. I've been able to memorize things I've learned from like previous units. Like if a teacher were to ask me what I learned in the beginning of the year, I would be able to tell her. Like in public schools, they would give me that. I would have a hard time remembering. They would have to like help me out and like redo the unit with me. Now I can memorize things. She can give me a test and I will be able to do it. It won't be as hard. My education has changed a lot.
But you're learning a lot, it sounds like. So, and you're a very bright student. Okay, last question. The last question was, how has your perception of school changed, right? That was the last question.
Growth.
Oh, okay, you asked the question that I asked you. I don't remember.
I have grown
How
a
have
lot.
you grown? Okay.
Like my confidence. In public schools, I wouldn't really get the chance to like answer a lot because there was a lot of students. So I wouldn't just raise my hand. I would just sit down. I would keep my thoughts to myself. Sometimes I would stay after school, talk to the teacher. Now I raise my hand more than often. I can answer. My confidence has grown and I'm able to like think and talk to the teacher.
On that note, I think we have to start Vespers. Give him a big hand. Thank you. Okay, let's thank Mr. Boykin. We thank Coach Ellis. We thank all the staff. They have the day off, so we kept them at home today. We thank all the parents, and thank you for everybody who's been patient until we finish. Let's say our Father, and then we're going to start Vespers, and Mr. Boykin and Coach Ellis will be outside if you have questions. Finally, Lord, make us worthy to pray thankfully through the intercessions of St. Mary, Archangel Michael, and the prayers of St. Misael, and all your saints. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil one. In Christ Jesus our Lord, for thine is the kingdom.
جماعة listen أنا بتكلم حاجة أنا كنت في مصر في مصر